as is our tradition, we like to start our events with a singing of the anthem. Now, I will not subject you to my own voice, but rather let me introduce to you a YouTuber, a political musician, and someone who's been a bit of a star lately with her political videos, Kelly Day. Please rise and join Kelly in singing the anthem.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to be singing the original that I learned as a child. Please feel free to sing whichever version you please. Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love, in all our sons command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
So, for those of you who've been here from the start, you may get a little tired of hearing the same message, but the same message we're going to keep repeating. For those of you who haven't, this is your first time, thanks for coming. Congratulations for being a patriot. When I say patriot, I really do mean a patriot. I never referred myself to as a patriot. I never thought I had to. I always knew I loved my country. I always felt pride in when we won Canada Cups and Olympic gold medals and different sporting events. You feel that pride when we're all gathered together. But this is a different sense of pride and patriotism, and it was inspired by our Prime Minister. And I never referred to our Prime Minister as by his name. It's always by his nickname, Potato. And we can thank the Chinese for that. So, I developed this sense of patriotism because I'm seeing and I've been witnessing my country losing its sovereignty, losing itself, losing its heritage, almost on a daily basis, by policies being rammed down our throat by government. And the reason why those policies are being rammed down our throat is our governments, successive governments, dating back to '72 in the Trudeau Senior era, or Potato Senior, I guess. And so they've developed these agenda items on a global level, creating these agenda items and these policies for countries around the world that don't apply or have application whatsoever in Canada, like a carbon tax. Carbon tax doesn't and shouldn't be imposed upon any Canadian. They say we have 1.6% carbon contribution globally, but that's before, and that's a relatively small number, but that's before we even consider how much carbon is being used by the 318 billion trees we have in Canada. That alone, that statistic alone, puts us at carbon negative. So what are we fighting? We're not fighting pollution. Carbon, CO2, is not a pollution. It's not a pollutant. CO2 is a building block of life.
Yeah. Woo!
Trudeau telling us that he's putting a price on pollution. Well, what pollution? What price and what pollution are you talking about? It's not CO2 because it's not a pollutant. We need it. Our farmers need it. Trees need it. Vegetation needs it. And we're at levels now, historically, that are much lower than they have been in the past, over millions of years. But it's a narrative they've put in, and they put it in through our schools, they put it in through the media, they put it in through Hollywood, they put it in, and they keep pounding us with it, trying to convince us, and they've done a pretty damn good job because at least half of the country is convinced that carbon tax is the way to go.
Trying to steal a generation.
Absolutely. So here we are with a carbon tax, and let's just say that carbon was a pollutant. Well, what's a carbon tax going to do? Well, it's not going to do anything. I own a small business. I can't alternate to a different source of energy because it doesn't exist. I have chippers and trucks that all run on diesel. There is no alternative. So I'm going to get hit with a bill from my business side, but I'm also getting a hit with a bill on my personal side. I'm getting hit from all sides. So as a business owner, how do you deal with this extra expense when you're already just barely making it at 3 or 5% profit? Well, you have to lay people off. I have a buddy of mine who lives in Yorkton. He runs a small transport company. He's got 3 or 4 trucks. And this is a really good example of how this little operation works. So he hires a fella that came from Serbia 4 years ago. In that 4 years, he's been trying to get his wife, who lives now in the Ukraine, trying to get her to move to Canada so she can join him in Canada, to make a better life for themselves in Canada, because Canada is free and prosperous. So he comes here, gets a job with my buddy Dave, running a truck, trying for 4 years to get his wife here. But she's stuck in the queue because they're too busy. Meanwhile, we have the UN dictating to us that we have to take hundreds of thousands of migrants, hundreds of thousands of immigrants that jump the queue, and migrants that are jumping the queue, and refugees that are jumping the queue. Meanwhile, she's still waiting. So Dave, being in the industry and being hit by this carbon tax, his profit margin is 3 to 5%. This carbon tax puts him in no position other than to lay off this guy he hired from Serbia, who will then depend on the rest of us that can keep a job to support him and his family when she gets here. How does that make any sense in any world that has any reality to it? Feel free to respond too. It's so infuriating. And again, these policies, carbon tax, migrant pact, they're all connected. And those are only 2. I know that those are the 2 that brought us all together and mobilized the troops. Fantastic. But those are only 2 issues. We have to look bigger. I had a discussion with Gormley the other day. Some of you may have heard it.
Yeah. Yay!
And as up to speed and up to date as Gormley is, even John doesn't understand the big picture. Well, and we can have that discussion too. And I'm hoping to have a debate with John again on that. Right. So what people like John like to do is they like to minimize, and they suggest that we need to be laser focused on pipelines or laser focused on carbon tax, of which he's 100% behind, and suggest we're doing an awesome job helping protest that.
Yeah.
But I also told John, if we only focus on those issues, we're going to be protesting for years to come, because those 2 issues come from the Sustainable Development Agenda from the UN.
Yeah.
That's right.
So if we don't tackle the top, if we don't tackle the issue of the UN taking our sovereignty, dictating policy to us as a sovereign country, we're doomed. So we can focus, and we can have these other groups like Canada Action, Rally for Resources. We want them as allies. Because of the media and the narrative that's been put on the Yellow Vest movement as racist or xenophobic or whatever word they use, these groups don't want to hitch their wagon to ours. And I say, you're more than welcome to hitch your wagon to our group, because our group is the group where the power is.
Yeah.
Canada Action has tried to mobilize these protests for years. and they haven't had close to the success that we're having, because we have a vision that's bigger than theirs. Theirs is regional issue, and we get it, we understand it. Man, do we know about the pipeline problem and the attack on the energy industry.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. Yes.
That's why we're here. But we can't limit ourselves to just that issue. We have to look at the migration pact. We have to look at the new urban agenda. We have to go to the top, where the UN, that is made up of 193 countries, 120 of those 193 countries, none of which are Western civilized countries. Not one.
Boom.
That's
Boom.
where the power lies in the UN. Within that 120, 56 plus 1 is the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. They're a group of countries, all of the Islamic countries in the world, that have come together to look after Muslims only. Okay?
That's right.
So these are the groups that are making decisions, creating policy that's going to be rammed down our throat in Canada. Then you have to understand where the migrant policy comes from and why. Well, who's running the UN? Who came up with the migrant policy that's going to flood Western civilization, where the money is with migrants?
The fact that Saudi Arabia sits on human crimes.
We're talking about an organization
Exactly, the worst offender.
that appoints Saudi Arabia, Senegal, China, Venezuela, Cuba, all non-democratic, to the Human Rights Council.
Just got on.
It's unbelievable.
Keep our sovereignty.
It's an
We need to keep
insult
our
to
sovereignty.
intelligence.
So we have these policies being rammed down our throat from this organization. So we have to stay focused on what the bigger issue is. Once we do that, and once we can come together en masse, town by town, city by city, province by province, come together, laser focused on the mission statement that we've developed, which deals with the Sustainable Development Agenda, then we'll have the power to make change. Then we'll have the power to take our country back,
Yes.
take our sovereignty
Yes.
back, look after
Yeah.
Canada first. And they say, oh, well, that's racist or that's xenophobic. No, it isn't.
No, it's not.
No, it
It's
isn't.
not.
I'm a nationalist. I'm a proud nationalist. I'm not a white nationalist. I don't hear any white nationalists taking on this movement.
No.
I see them trying to label us as such, but we're not. We're nationalists. I'm going to give you the definition of nationalism. Nationalism is a political, social, and economic ideology and movement characterized by the promotion of interest of a particular nation, especially with the aim of gaining and maintaining a nation's sovereignty, self-governance over its homeland. Anybody who's watching this online or anywhere in the world, come talk to me and make an argument that says that's racist or that's somehow a bad thing to promote. I'm a proud Canadian, I'm a patriot, and I'm a nationalist.
Yes,
And I'm
yes.
gonna stand up. I'm gonna
Yeah.
take our country back. So I'm going to just really quickly, I'm going to hand these out, but I'm also going to read it. I think it's important. So like I said, a bunch of fellow patriots across Canada, every region, including Quebec, we've come together. We're all helping this movement and trying to keep the integrity of the movement so we can move forward and build and attract people. Okay? A lot of people don't want to be involved because of the media and what they've painted us as, because of some assholes that decide that they're going to be racist and promote racism. But there's another thing that's going on Facebook. There are people that infiltrate these groups, from Antifa, from other professional protest groups. They come onto our groups on Facebook and they make these horrendous posts that they want to kill Trudeau or terribly racist comments. They do it on purpose, they screenshot it, then they send it to the media, they send it to Yellow Vest Exposed. That's what's happening. The media loves it because they can light a fire. And then it scares other Canadians from joining the movement, even though they want to and they understand and they need to. But another thing we need to do, folks, is we need to educate people. We need to educate them, and this is what I'm hoping this mission statement, and the rest of us across Canada hope the mission statement does, is educate the masses. There's a lot of solutions floating around on Facebook. There's a lot of solutions to the problem, but a lot and the majority of Canadians don't understand the problem. So we need to be focused on the issues, focused on the integrity of the movement, what started it, and why we're here. Once we get to critical mass, then we can talk about solutions.
Yes.
Yes.
And there's a ton of them. But as soon as you start a movement with solutions, you create division.
Yeah.
Because everybody has an opinion on how to fix things. And it's not based on knowledge as to why we have these problems. It's based on somebody wanting to put in an agenda that they think is going to fix the problem. We're not there yet. We are in the protest stage, and we need to grow the movement on one mission statement and one idea.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the mission statement that we came up with collectively throughout Canada was, we, the citizens of Canada, have come together under the Yellow Vest banner for the sole purpose of protesting and rallying against our successive establishment governments who have sold our sovereignty to the UN through the carbon tax, including the pipeline issue, Paris Accord, Migrant Pact, and ultimately the Sustainable Development Agenda. We demand that our government immediately withdraw from the Sustainable Development Agenda, pull back from the UN and its agenda, and ensure Canada and its 37 million citizens can regain, protect, and maintain our distinct and rightful sovereignty, our freedom, and our liberty.
Here, here.
Yeah.
So please, folks, you'll see it online. We're trying our damnedest to get it out there. If you see it, when you see it, repost it, share it, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your co-workers. It's super important. I'm telling you, if we can educate people in Canada as to why we're here, why we have these issues, they will come on board. There's nothing xenophobic, there's nothing racist. When I look at Canadians, I see Canadians of different color everywhere I go.
Yes.
Yeah.
I see Canadians of different religion everywhere I go. I see Canadians from all aspects and all walks of life. And we're all bound together by our country. And we want to keep it, our culture of freedom, liberty, responsibility, hard work. We want to cherish that. And we want people that come here to cherish that.
Yes.
So their families can immigrate responsibly to our country and take part of what we have. We have the best country on the planet. I want to keep it that way.
Yes.
They want to destroy it. Our governments want to destroy it. They want us to be part of a globalist movement. They want to give our sovereignty to the globalists.
Shame on
And
them.
beat us
Shame
down.
on them.
I can't take it. That's why I'm here. That's why I get 4 hours of sleep a night if I'm lucky.
Me too.
Ooh.
And all you folks that are working hard at this, because you feel it, but you understand why. That's why you're here, because you get it. But millions of Canadians don't get it yet. And it's our job to educate and inform.
Yes, it is. Yep.
So I'm way off my speech I wrote, but you want to say a few words? No?
Keep going.
We'll make a video under 44 minutes, so 2 minutes to go.
Oh, yeah, okay, very good. So, thanks very much for coming. We're going to get this convoy rolling.